let's see. Mic check. Okay. So, another Sudoku. Something a bit different today. Rather than doing the New York Times, I've actually found this really interesting, kind of weird variation of Sudoku, I guess. It's called I think it's called Invisible Dies Sudoku, and I found that through the Cracking the Cryptic YouTube channel, which is the channel that made this Sudoku so far, and they're the ones that I've been watching to learn how to be better Sudoku. Basically, I really like their website, the kind of like Sudoku tool, because you can do multiple pencil marks for all the cells that you've highlighted, and you can do two different styles of pencil marking, which I just find really, really helpful when you've got you've kind of like got two different types of marking you can make and do different kind of thinking around it, and they're kind of like for these custom I don't know, alternative style Sudokus. They create unique links for you to try out yourself, and I think this one is quite solvable. Probably, I don't know, being optimistic, but the idea is that you've got your normal numbers, which is quite sparse, but there's also this these 6 squares, which forms a die. Yeah, if it's singular, is it? Let's see, die versus die. So plural is dies. So yeah, a single die. Although I will actually have to. It's called invisible dies because there are actually 2 of them. There are 2 dies in this grid, and it's basically a clone of this cross, basically. So the way to think of it is, this is basically a cube that's been unraveled. I'm sure you've done that in school, where you do the paper cutouts and then glue a thing together, and you've got yourself a cube. And to follow the rules of a die, the opposite sides have to add up to the same values, which since it's 1 to 6, you have to add up to 7 on opposite sides. And basically the grid, if I remember correctly, or if I understood it correctly, it appears twice on the entire grid. Basically, the die appears twice on the grid. So I think that's probably. I think if you can find 2 sets of dies, then you should be able to. Yeah, if you can solve the 1 to 6 on the dies, then you're probably left with a normal Sudoku, probably still a hard Sudoku, but and I think since a die can only go from 1 to 6, that means these high values, 6, 7, 9, they're quite a few of them. Half of them are like over 6, so there are only so many places you can actually put the die. So I think the first thing to do is probably work out where the clone is. So, and I know, for example, this won't work because I've got 8 in a die. So that's what I mean by eliminating them. And I can't go any higher than that because then the top cell will peek out of the grid. So let's see. So if I use this central square to kind of identify where the potential clone is, I know it can't go there because there's an overlap of a square with the original, which means these 2 squares have to be the same number, which doesn't happen on the dice. So I've already eliminated the top left corner. What about this? So for let's see, that seems a potential candidate. So let's see. The cool thing about this tool is not only can you pencil mark corners and centers, you can colour the cells as well, which I've used previously quite badly, but I think for this particular Sudoku, I think it'll be really, really, really useful. So let's see if that's a 4. then that has to be, oops, let's see, if that's a 4, that has to be a 4 as well, because they have to be clones, which means there has to be, okay, so I've already eliminated this because it has to be 3 opposite of 4, and I've got 2 3s in this square, so this can't possibly be the clone. That can't be the clone either, so what about this? That looks possible. No, it can't, because I've got that leaves only one possible square, and 7, 8 and 9 have to go outside of this cross, but I've got an 8 blocking the final 8, so that's not possible. So that's not possible because I've got 2 repeating squares, so that's the next possible place. That's a potential, surely. That basically eliminates all of those as 1, which means that has to be 1. Oops, I keep doing that. I keep leaving it in color mode, and I should probably learn the shortcuts. So that'll make those 1 and 6. Then these can't be 3, so 4 must be there. 5 can't be 5 can't go there, so it has to be one of these, which means those have to be 2 and those have to be 3. So those can't be okay, so that eliminated that possibility as well, because 4 can't go there nor there, because 3 can't go there as the opposing sides of the dice. So let's get rid of that. I might as well restart. So where was I? Here, wasn't I? So that includes a 9. This row is just out of the question because these 3 squares will repeat itself. So what about here? 5. So I think I've got the same problem here because I haven't got enough space for 7, 8 and 9. So that doesn't work because I've got repeating square. That's got a 9, so that doesn't work because it's got a 9, so that's a possible set. So that so I've got 1 and undo, normal, 1 and 6. So that's eliminated as 5. Well, in fact, all these 3 squares, that 5 eliminates these 2 and that one. So can it go there, which means that's got to be a 2, which leaves 4 and 3. 4 and 3. So that can't be a 4. So, that's a possible solution. How I got it? 3, 2, 6, 5, 4. No. That was stupid. I could have spotted that right from the beginning actually if I paid more attention. Let's restart it. So can't go there. I've got the same problem here. 1 is eliminated on both these, so but I've got a repeating square, so those are overlaps. That's a possibility. Let's see. So that'll be 2, 1 and 5. That would be really nice actually. So no, that won't work because 5 and 2 have to be opposite each other, so again that won't work. So that eliminates these rows. What about here? I can still get 7, 8 and 9. I've got the same problem. 5 can't go there. that takes the 7, that's an overlap, that's an 8. So what about here? 8, 7, 9, so 1. Okay, so that's a possibility. So that's eliminated as 1. Those can't be 1s. So those can be 1s. Those can be 6, but that 6 blocks that, which means it has to be 1 and 6. That can't. These two can't be 4. Those can't be 4. So 4's got to go there. 4 and 3. 5 eliminates that. So 5 and 2. So this looks possible. So so 2, 1, 5, 3, 4, 6. That seems a potential candidate. So, and I've only got, okay, so what about this? No, that won't work because the 9 can't go anywhere. And finally, this. Okay, so let me delete that, but leave the greens in. But if I mark that orange, let's try again. So 1, basically all of these are eliminated, so 1 can only go, so that's not possible at all, because if 1 is in either of these 2 squares, has to be 6 has to go in there. So I think we found our clone. So let's try that again. So 1 can't be those 2, and it can't be these 2. So these are 1s, these are 6, but that can't be a 6. So that has to be, that's a 1, that's a 6. 4 eliminates those, and that's, so these two have to be 4. 6 and 1. So that has to be 3, and that leaves, that can't be a 5, so 2 and 5. 2 and 5. I think I'm just going to have to go for it. I don't want to repeat the whole process again. I just have to trust that I got this right. But I'm sure if this is wrong, it's going to come up quite quickly. So let's go from there. I can already see that's a 9 because of these 2 9s. So, whoops, these 2 are 9s. So let's go back to 1. So these 2 are 1s. This is so much easier than the New York Times. So that's a 1 because of this one. I can even show you this, how I eliminate the cells as well. So this is so much better, isn't it? So these 2 1s means that's pencil marking of 1. These 2 1s. Okay, so I've got 1s only available on the top, the first and the third row. So 1 has to go there, but I've got 1 down here, so that has to be a 1. So that's what a 1's done. Yay! These are 2s. So again, 2, 2, 2s. So that's got to be a 2 because of these 2, which means I've got 3 possible 2s. I'm going to leave that for now. That's the normal practice of not penciling in too many cells. But I may be able to demonstrate an interesting trick using the center pencil marks later. So that's 2 done. 3, that's got to be a 3. That's got to be a 3 because of that. So these 2 3s leaves me pencil marks for 3 here. That can't be 3, so 3. So one thing I tend to do is to just highlight what 3 covers, and this is the really cool thing about this tool, because it really helps you see all the available squares. So if I clear all those, then that means these 2 have to be 3s. That's a set of 3, that's a set of 4, but that can be pencil marked in, and I'm leaving those because they're not super helpful right now. So 4, let's carry on. These 2 are 4s. Not helpful, not helpful. So 4 is there. Nothing else that I can see. So let's try 5. I have a good feeling about this one actually. So that's 5. 5's got to be here. So even though I haven't actually definitively put a 5 on this column, these 2, 5 can only be in this column. So combined with this 5 means I can only put the 5 here. But again, it's 3 cells, so that was a waste of time. 5. So that creates a 3-5 pair. So I can do the really cool thing now, which is to do the center pencil marks. Oops. Undo. The center pencil mark just basically means these 2 cells can't be anything else. It has to be 3 or 5. Whereas the other pencil marks basically means I haven't actually deduced all the possible combinations yet. So it will be helpful later, I'm sure. So 5, 5, can't do any more 5, so 6. 6, there are not many 6s actually. Okay, so this creates a 1-6 pair, so I'm going to do center marks. The reason I know it's a 1-6 pair is because I've already got a pair of 1s there, and the pair of 6s means there are no other possibilities for these 2 cells. So that's going to be helpful later. This is much easier than the New York Times, I don't know, the software, I guess. So I think that's all the 6 is done. So 7, I know 7's on this one of these cells. Okay, so I know 7 has to be in fact it has to be in these 2 squares because of that, which means that's blocked now, and these 2 blocks the center column as well, because they can only be 1 or 6, and that 7 leaves me with these 2 as pencil mark, and I also know these are 7s as a result. Although actually I think the 1-6 there actually tells me that in fact 1-6 means these 2 square can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7, 8 and 9. So 7 on 9, but I've got 9 here, so that has to be 7, that has to be 9, so that leaves this as an 8. So the 8 has to be here, because this 8 blocks that column. So I've got 2 8 pair. In fact, I'm going to do center pencil marks. So this may be quite a good cell to check. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm missing a 5, 6, 7, 8. It could be 5 or 9. So it's not helpful just yet. So let's leave it for now. What about here? So I've only got 5, 6 and 9, but since these are the possible pencil markings, that means that has to be a 5. So I've got a 7, 9 pair. Brilliant. So let's keep with the 7s, which is what I was on. Can I do any more pencil markings? That's 7. Here we go. So that's a 7, and that's brilliant. So just double check. These 2 7s blocks those 5 squares, leaving that as a 7, which means this has to be a 2 and that has to be a 4. And that means, oops, that's an 8 and that's a 2. It doesn't give me any more than that, but it's fine. But I can also see now that these 2 are 3s, these 2 are 5s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Don't know where 9 is yet, so let's leave that for now. So I'm not going to turn these into center squares. I'm going to leave them as corner pencil marks. So I was on 7 before, so let's carry on. 7's been really fruitful, so these two are 7s. I'm trying to be disciplined as well, so that because the last video I did, I just kept like changing my tactics and ended up missing squares. Let's look at 8. 8. So these two are 8s. If I look down, that 8. So these two have to be 8 because that 8 blocks the column, and these 3, 5 pairs blocks those two cells, which means 8 has to go there. 8, 8. So that blocks the 8. Okay, can't do anything for 8 as far as I can tell. So what about 9? So 9. Okay, 9 has to be on here, but there are 3 possible positions. So let's try something a bit different now. I've got 7, 9 pair here, which means I can't do anything with them, or I would have eliminated one of the squares. But what about here? Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, it's the 5, 9 pair, isn't it? So 5 can appear in any of these cells, and 9. Okay, so these are 9, but I don't know where the 5 is. That's fine. Have I done all the 1s? No. I'm left with these 4 squares with 1s. I don't know if there's some trickery you can do. No, there probably isn't enough information just yet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I haven't got 7, but I've got 8 and 9, so that has to be a 7 then. So, but filling in that 7 doesn't give me anything because it doesn't eliminate anything, but certainly gives me a 7, 9 pair there, which means nothing else really. So it means 7 has to be one of these two. Ooh, getting me thirsty. I should have gotten myself a drink first. 5. Can 5 do anything for me? No, that 5's been there a while, I think. So 8. So let's restart the whole grid, looking at the 1s and the, just looking for pencil marks. So 2s can't do anything, can't do anything. So these, oh, what about that? So 2, 2. So I can't tell anything about, oh, there we go. So these two are 2s. 3s. 3s, 3s. No. 4. 4, 4, 4. Oh, this is the boring part where nothing really goes your way anymore because so maybe this is harder than I had hoped for. But I bet there are going to be some solo, like naked singles, which are cells that can only be one number. But I'm not very good at spotting those. However, I think if I go for the look at the empty squares, if I look at, for instance, if I look at this square looking for all the possible numbers, I'm basically eliminating 8 from there because either of these two squares can be 8. So if I'm trying to look for an 8 on this square, I can't count these 8s, whereas if I'm looking at this as an 8, I know this 8 has to be outside this square, so I can qualify 8 into this cell as well, even though in this case I can actually see an 8 as well. But it just basically, there are more possibilities of squares that you can use. So if I look at this, I can cheat a little bit. I can see 2, 4 and 8 here, and that hints to me that this is 2, 4 or 8. But I've got 2 and I've got an 8, so that's a 4. That's a satisfying solve. And it's going to give me a lot of the remaining 4s now. Brilliant. Cool, so 2 and 8 I can't solve yet. That's fine. What about here? Because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. I don't have 6, but I've got 7, 8. Oh, I've got 6 or 9. Damn it. So I know those are 6. Yeah, maybe I'm better off just doing more pencil markings actually, because now I've got another pair of 6 there. Can I do more? No. So I know these are 2 and 8, but there's not much point of turning those pencil marks, to be honest, but I guess I'm just doing it as best practice. Where was I before? 1s. Let's just go back to 1s and see if I can get any more. No. 2. I get a feeling 1 is going to be one of the, either I'm going to solve them all in one go, or it's going to come last. 2. Is there anything interesting happening with 2? No. 2, so none of these could be 2s. So that's the problem. I've got 3 possible 2s here. So if I'm completely exhausted with options, then I may mark all those as 2s, but to be honest, that's not really good. Oh, hang on. There's a blank cell there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I haven't got 6. I've got 7. I've got 8, and I've got 9. So that's a 6, which means 6 has to... Oops. That means 6 has to go there, which means that's a 2, that's a 1, which means that's an 8, that's a 2, which means... Oh, I was going to put an 8 there, but I don't know that yet. But that does mean these 2 have to be... No, I lied. Undo. No, it means that's a 2, so that's a 4, 3. So I'm missing so that can't be an 8. So these 2 are 8s, and I've got 5 and 8 in this line, which means there has to be a 7. So there's a 5, 8 pair. So these have to be 4 and 7. I've got a 7 there, so that has to be a 4, and that has to be a 7. That can't be a 4 anymore. Oh no! Ah, I'm dumb. These have to be 4 and 7. It's the other way. This can't be a 4, so it has to be a 7. So that can't be a 7, but I don't know where 4 is just yet. But that means that can't be a 4. So that's a 4. That eliminates that as a 6. So that 8 eliminates that. So that's a 5 and an 8, which means that can't be 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that has to be a 5 and an 8. So that can't be a 5. That has to be a 5. That has to be a 3. So that has to be a 9. So that can't be a 9 anymore. So 9. So is 7, 1, 2 is 5, isn't it? So that's a 5. So 5, 7, 1, 6. Yay! So pretty sure we can solve this. 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's got to be a 9. So those can't be 9, that can't be a 9, so that's got to be a 9 and an 8. I've already got a 5 there, so 3 and 5. One of these is a 3, that's a 3, so that leaves an 8. And I haven't solved it. Oh wait, this is not New York Times, so I need to click the check button, and it says, looks good to me. So that's a solve. Yay! I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. So there isn't like provide a solution, because I think these guys, they basically just construct the grids, so the algorithm just checks whether things are correct. But if I've made any mistakes, I'm pretty sure that's the solution. I don't think you can have more than one solution. So but if you spot any mistakes that I've made, you can leave it in the comments below. But that took 30 minutes. I'm very pleased with that. I'm going to edit this now and upload it onto YouTube.